This is Seth, March Madness bracket winner, Yaxel Linderborg, aka Dominican LeBron, is the best player in the country. And you're watching Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our March Madness Opinions of the Week. We have made it to the Final Four after long discussions for each region. And now, Austin and Jake, we get to these matchups which do determine our bracket and the champion. So which one do we want to do? We have Duke versus Houston and Arizona versus Virginia.
Let's do Duke versus Houston. I think this will be less of a conversation. Maybe it'll be a long conversation. Both of them are close to my opinion. Caleb Foster could be back by this point. He's given a prognosis, John Shire has, that he could be back by this point. So I think it's part of the consideration. I think that Houston is a great team whenever they're firing on all cylinders, but obviously they've had games where they haven't. They've lost to Zona now twice in their last 10 games. They lost to Iowa State close. They lost at Kansas. And while they have been impressive in other games, they're not playing their best basketball at this point. I would take Duke in this matchup.
I would also take Duke in this matchup. I haven't been in love with Houston all season. Their 3-point shooting has dropped astronomically, and even still with Emmanuel Sharp and Miles Uzan still on their team. And so it's been a struggle for them down the stretch. They haven't been awful, but they haven't been great. And so I think in this game, Houston makes it. Well, I think Houston makes it simply because it's an easy route, and I think Duke is just so well primed in this matchup. I think they're primed to make a run, and they're just such a solid all around team. I think Duke wins.
Yeah, I have Duke winning as well. So we're 3-0 on that. Now we go Arizona versus Virginia.
Yeah, I can start with this one. This is definitely the better of the Final Four matchups that we have. Virginia has been so nasty, and they're a great squad. They really, really are. This is definitely tough. But I was talking to Austin earlier about what the makeup of a champion, what archetypes you need to have, what the construction of the team needs to look like. Do you win big games? Can you hit clutch shots? And for me, Arizona fits that mold. As much as it sucks historically, I have had bad luck picking Arizona. A lot of us have. I think there's something to be said about the fact that Tommy Lloyd is a new, because what was it? Arizona lost as a 2 seed early on in like 2016 or 17, right?
Yeah, but he wasn't there.
He wasn't there. Tommy Lloyd comes in his second year, loses to Houston, that was an incredibly underseeded team. If you look back,
very disappointing.
You look at everything. Houston was very underseeded.
That's true. Still,
and Arizona, unfortunately, and they still made the Sweet 16. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, as a 1 seed, you want to go further, but like, it's not like they got obliterated late. And then the next year comes, and you run into Princeton, and that was a funky year too. But if you go back and look at the makeup of that team, they were not championship built. They were not championship ready. I look at this team, and I look at a team that has bigs who can rebound. They are aggressive on the boards. They have guys who can shoot. They have spry defenders, and they have senior leadership. And they have guard play. And in March, guard play matters so much more than people realize. And I think right now they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys who can reliably score. 8. And I think, and I was talking about earlier, it doesn't matter if one guy has a bad night, someone else fills their place. And if someone, I mean, who was it? I told you it was versus Iowa State, the big game. Del Orso hit 6 threes.
Yep.
He had 6 threes. And then the next game he hit 0, but Bradley hit all of his threes. And Karchenkov hit all of his threes. So I just think the team is so well meshed together, and they almost have zero flaws. You can't look at something on their roster and real and look at and go, oh, that's a flaw. The only reason any of us are questioning this is history. The only reason any of us
They
don't want to
also,
pick
I also, I am worried that their two leading scorers, I know Jaden Bradley's a close third, are freshmen. I do think that concerns me.
that
Past,
typically would concern me too, but they're not ball dominant. Jaden Bradley is the leader of that offense. Offense runs through him, and I think a lot of his distribution of the ball allows for guys like Burries and Pete to get more shots up. But I think Bradley is still he's the leader of the offense. They run everything through him. He's the senior guard, he's the senior leader, and so that's why that doesn't scare me as much now.
yeah, I think in this matchup, it's 5 seniors against 2. There's really only 2 seniors that play for Zona, which I think concerns me a little bit as well. I mean, there's 8 players that play for Zona. There's 9 that play for Virginia. They both have depth. I'm just a little bit concerned. Will the young players for Zona step up? Of those guys, there's more that are freshmen than there are seniors in of the guys who play the 3 versus 2. And I'm just trying to think through my head, when's the last time I saw a complete freshman? This Zona team, in my opinion, reminds me a lot of Duke last year, and that scares me. While I do think, while watching Zona, I've watched a lot of Zona recently, they look on paper like the best team. The freshman led factor, and the factor that, again, 3 of them are freshmen, they don't really have that many senior leaders, really just 2 senior leaders, and Del Orso and Jaden Bradley.
And a Walker.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And Krivas is a junior, so I mean,
True, but I guess they have 4. They have 4 freshmen that play. That's right, 4 freshmen that play.
Aristote's the fourth.
Yeah, Aristote's the 4th. Yeah, they play 4. So there's still more freshmen, and
It's a 45% from 3, by the way, though.
that's true. But can you do that in? This team reminds me of Duke of last year, who, mind you, I had as my national champion. So I don't blame you for doing that. I had Texas Tech versus Duke last year, and I had Duke winning. I'm scared. I'm going to go Virginia just so Kevin can talk. And if you take Zona, you take Zona. But this Virginia team is more senior led. They're playing like they're playing like the second best team in the country right now. Maybe third. I'll say they're playing like the third best team in the country right now recently that I've watched. I mean, the only people that I think teams that I think could argue with how they're playing right now are Zona and Duke. And Duke, because of their injuries, I do think concern me a little bit. But there's not many teams that are playing at the level of basketball they're playing. I'm going to take Virginia, but Kevin, if you take Zona, you're not going to offend me at all. But they do remind me of Duke from last year, so that scares me.
I will say DeRitter's a freshman too.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I'm not saying. Well, I mean, all 4 of the Final 4 teams have freshmen that are major players for them, but I think Virginia is more senior led. I mean, they have 5 seniors that play. Their best defender is a senior. They have a very good guard that's a senior. So I think that their best guard is a senior. Well, yes, their highest scorer is a freshman. They have more senior led than Zona, who their top 2 scorers are freshmen, and they also have 2 other freshmen that play major roles for their team. It's going to be tight. And again, it's not to say that Zona's not maybe the best team on paper here, but the best team on paper doesn't always win in March. And I think Virginia, the way they're playing, you talked about eye test. Just watching, does Virginia not pass that? I'm not saying to baby beat Zona because we haven't watched this game yet, but they do pass the eye test.
If I honestly feel if Virginia was on the other side of the bracket for me, I'm picking them over Duke.
I get that. I'm giving Kevin the pleasure to decide a major game for our bracket, and one that could determine whether or not we win the bracket challenge. No pressure, Kevin.
Yeah. Thinking about that, I appreciate the honor. Arizona, to me, I watched part of the game against Iowa State, and Iowa State started the game on a 14-5 run, and a lot of that was because of Arizona's turnovers. Yes, Arizona figured it out, and they ended up winning it due to a buzzer beater from Jaden Bradley, but so that's something for some cause concern for me. But when I look at Virginia and their stats, they're not too great at creating turnovers. And Duke only turned over the ball 9 times, and Duke won that 74-70 in that ACC championship. So this is where I think Arizona could be cause for concern, but I don't think Virginia is the right team to take advantage of some of their weaknesses that they showed in the Iowa State game. So I have Arizona winning.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to argue it. I think this team reminds me of Duke from last year, and Duke from last year lost in this exact game.
Actually, Duke from this year reminds me of Duke from last year.
I don't think so, because I think that they don't necessarily have the two guys that are freshmen. Like in my head, I don't like. Yes, sure, they have more than one guy who's a freshman who's a major player for them this year. I'm not going to act like that's not true, but when I think of Duke this year, I think of Boozer, and I think of other guys that are freshmen. I don't think of Caden Boozer or Dame Sar like that. Those aren't their major freshmen, or like those are freshmen, but they're not like Cooper Flag and Conkin Nipple. That's what I see as Kobe and Brady Murray's, right? That is the two freshman led scorers, their best players that are going to make or break your game. And while you are going to have guys outside of those guys that are going to contribute, I don't necessarily see it this year's Duke's team as last year's Duke.
But they didn't have Jaden Bradley. They didn't have a senior guard who is clearly the leader of that offense. Cooper Flag was the point man of that offense. Jaden Bradley is the point man of this offense.
Sion James was a great guard for them last year, though. I mean, Tyrese Proctor. I mean, sure, but he was still a major part of that team and had very good performances.
Oh, he was crucial. He was crucial.
Yeah, I just Duke this year really only has like the difference between like Cam Boozer and the next freshman, which I guess would be Caden Boozer or Dame Sar. Probably Dame Sar in my opinion. I think he's better than Caden Boozer, but it doesn't really feel the same way I feel about this Arizona team, the way they compare to Duke from last year.
We're in for one crazy championship game here.
Yeah. And I think it really comes down to what happens with Caleb Foster. Does Caleb Foster
Kevin, you want to foster us into the championship game?
Yeah, I think Duke. I think John Shire is incredible. Yes, there is the injury with Caleb Foster, but I think Duke is really deep. He could be back, and I think they've shown a lot. They've been able to grit out wins in this ACC tournament without Foster. Making it this far, I think they've shown a lot. They would have shown a lot, and I would have them winning because I think each year they have gotten better. Last year they lost in the semifinals. You were talking about that. To me, this team is more experienced, and they still have great guys that will go to the draft, like Cooper Flag did last year. So I have Duke winning this game.
I'm going to give you every opportunity to convince me, Jake.
I'll go next. Well, first off, I'm unsure that Duke will even make it here without Caleb Foster. I think they do have a much more difficult route than some of the other top seeds. So being here in the first place would be a huge accomplishment because they would have TCU in the second round. That's not easy. They would have St. John's in the third in the Sweet 16. That's not easy. They would have UCLA in the Elite Eight with Donovan Dent, who I think is possible. UCLA could beat him. I do. Do I think they would? No. In that situation, I'm going with Duke like I did in our overall bracket. But I still think it's a very difficult route. So I could see Duke not making it. If they make it to the Final Four, we're so low on the South region that I think they would absolutely win. So that's not a question to me. But like I've said, there's something about Duke that is also not very senior led, especially now. We want to talk about experience. Both boozers are freshmen. Dame Sarr is a freshman. Evans is a sophomore. Ngangba's a sophomore. Foster's a sophomore. Um, Kamenia. What is Kamenia? Is he he's a freshman, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kamenia is a freshman too. The only senior on the entire squad is
Malik
Malik Brown,
Brown.
and he's actually insane on defense. But
Yeah, I was about to say he's one of the best defenders in the country, but
he probably is the best defender in the country. You can't
the
really
only
rely
one
on
I say is Yaxel. I think Yaxel Lindebor is the best defender in the country. But
you can forget using Malik Brown on offense, except for like a putback board.
Yes, but I think he's so impactful defensively that it warrants his time.
It does. It does absolutely warrant his time. No Caleb Foster. This team has one right now reliable 3-point shooter in Isaiah Evans. Cam Boozer is really good, but I feel like Isaiah Evans is their only reliable shooting guard. Caden Boozer and Dame Sarr are not good shooting guards. They cannot shoot. Caden Boozer's a better field goal shooter, but Dame Sarr cannot shoot. But Dame Sarr is a pretty decent defender as well. So they have a good mesh. Arizona's the only time this entire season where I have watched Arizona, the only time where they have looked bad was the first 2 minutes versus Iowa State. Other than that, they've clearly been the best team on the floor every single time I've seen them. From the way that they move, from their confidence. Sometimes they have the swagger about them that just screams champion. Everything about the way that they move. And Jaden Bradley is a championship-winning guard. He shoots 40% from three. He hits his free throws. He plays great defense. And when you need him to get a shot in crunch time, he does it. And he proved that already. He proved that against Iowa State. Krivas is a 7-foot, 8 rebounds per game, 2 blocks per game center that I think can handle Cam Boozer a little bit. Well, he shut down Cam Boozer.
He can definitely handle Caden Boozer.
He can definitely handle Caden Boozer. Toby Owaka is a rebounding machine. They have 2 rebounders who are fast, strong, and aggressive. Krivas and Owaka. Yes, they do have freshmen, but so does Duke. And I think the senior leadership of Del Orso, Bradley, Owaka, and the junior, Krivas is a junior, senior, whatever. He's an upperclassman. They have 4 guys who do have the experience, who do have the senior leadership, and they make plays when they need it. They're not just seniors to be seniors. They are focal points. Owaka is the rebounder. Krivas is the interior. Jaden Bradley's the guard, and Del Orso is the sharpshooter. And weirdly enough, Del Orso's 3-point shooting percentage was not great this season. But if you look at what he can do and what he has been doing recently, they are just firing on all cylinders. And I think that's why the Burries and Pete being the leading scorers doesn't scare me, because historically, to win a national championship, you also kind of have to have NBA guys. You got to think about it. You got to have guys who could play and will likely play in the NBA, and Burries and Pete are both those guys. That doesn't mean Duke doesn't have those. We clearly know where their guys are going. But I think combined with the senior leadership, combined with the fact that they have only had 2 losses all season, and that they're they didn't run through the Big 12 tournament, but it didn't look too difficult outside of those couple minutes against Iowa State. They move so smooth. They never get rattled. Tommy Lloyd makes great decisions lately this season.
And both of these teams lost to a JT Toppin led Tech. Both of them. Oh man. It hurts my soul so much.
Yeah, so
I can't even explain it.
I just think this team, they have the formula, and when I simplify it down and I think about the last time I looked at a team based on the formula and based on the eye test and picked them to win the national championship, it was UConn in 2023, and they did it. Now, I don't want to claim, oh, this means Arizona's going to win. But sometimes when it comes to a champion, you just got to take what is given to you, take what you witness. And for me, I see no misses. I see nothing that they are missing on their team. They can hit their threes. They can defend on the interior. They can rebound on the interior. They can score on the interior. They can defend on the perimeter. They can get out in transition and get the fast break points, and they can hit their free throws, and they can hit threes. So that's why I'm picking Arizona, and not to say Duke doesn't do that. I think Duke doesn't have the depth. It's as simple as that, and the senior leadership.
Look, I can't promise that Zona will be the team I pick the most in my personal brackets, but I'll give Jake this one.
All right. So we have Arizona defeating Duke in the national championship. What is the final score?
It's your team, Jake. You get to choose.
That's a nasty game. That's gonna be like 67-63 Zona. It's not gonna be easy, but I think it'll be like 63-63. Bradley hits like a mid-range jumper, and then Duke comes down, Boozer misses the shot, and then they foul, and then they hit the 2 free throws, and they come down, miss the shot in the game. It'll be close.
Okay.
All right. So we have the final score, the winner being Arizona 67-63. And that is all our picks. And of course, this is the official bracket for us. So that completes it, and there we are. The confetti is there. There it is. If you want to compete against our group, there it is. The info is in the description. Jake and Austin, what a fantastic time. And thank you all, and we look forward to celebrating our win.